Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 16, Episode 90. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Friday, Steelers Nation. Dave, Super Bowl LX60 is 48 hours away between the Patriots and Seahawks to cap off the 2025-2026 season. So looking forward to that busy day of Steelers news, things that are award-related, Hall of Fame-related, coaching staff-related, still several more coaches to talk about that have come across the wire since we last spoke. So plenty going on. Dave, how you doing?
All right. Happy Friday. And it is Super Bowl weekend. And make sure, wanted to get out there at the top of the show, just put up the entry form to the free contest, props contest, if you will, that we have done for several years now. And I believe there's 20 questions and a bonus tiebreaker question up on the site. I believe that we're going to try to keep it pinned to the top of SteelersDepot.com up until about probably an hour before kickoff, and then shut it down. It's free to enter if you've been a past commenter on the site. And for those of you that obviously have been around the site long enough, make sure you get by there. You should recognize the Google form, and just have a little bit of fun, have a cash prize to the winner. I've got 3 copies of the Dick LeBeau legendary book from our own Scott Brown that I'm going to give away also and send out to the top 3 scorers in this contest. So just want to make sure I get that out there at the top of the show. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about, a little bit more coaching news. Obviously talk about what happened at NFL Honors on Thursday night and talk about the Super Bowl game coming up on Sunday between the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. So how are you doing on this Friday morning?
I'm doing well. I should say happy Spaghetti Day to you, Dave. Forgot to wish that for you and the Dave household over there in Vegas. And I just lost my train of thought here again. But with the Super Bowl prop contest, just be sure to read all the rules and follow them to a T. Dave has it explained very clearly and plainly for you guys to follow, but you have to follow all the instructions, otherwise you will not be eligible to win. So just want to impress upon that. Would hate you guys to be the big winner, but you miss a step and you miss out on the prize because of it. So check that out on Steelers Depot. Let's continue and pick up with NFL Honors held last night, the league's annual award show. No Steelers winning awards. Really, no one was nominated besides Alex Highsmith for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Every team has a nominee. That went to longtime linebacker Bobby Wagner instead. So not sure how you felt about the MVP voting. Matthew Stafford just barely beating out Drake May, and then Stafford confirming he'll be back in 2026 in his acceptance speech. But the awards themselves, separate from the Hall of Fame for just a moment, pretty much knew they weren't going to involve Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I had a feeling that Alex Highsmith probably wasn't going to win the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Bobby Wagner has been in running for that for a long time, and I think he even said he almost didn't show up for this time. So, a guy that's been around the league, done obviously. Look, all 32 of those guys. That's why they were up there on the stage. That's why they were nominated by each of the teams. I was in the back of my mind hoping. Thinking that if Alex Highsmith did not win, who I would like to see win it, and Kelvin Beachum came to my head, former Steelers offensive lineman. He seems like he's been in the Walter Payton nominee at least for several years in a row with the Cardinals, and he obviously does a lot of good work as well too. So I kept thinking in back of my head, I wonder how realistic it is for Kelvin Beachum to win this. At least there would be some kind of Steeler connection there with him, obviously being a former draft pick of the team several years ago, but he did not win it. Once again, Bobby Wagner did win it. Yeah, it's hard to take fault with any of the guys that actually win that, but it is such a prestigious award. So, was looking forward to seeing the outcome of that. The MVP, as you stated, went to Matthew Stafford. Was surprising to see. I think Justin Herbert received one vote, and I think that came from Steve. What's his last name?
No, it was Sam Monsoon.
Sam Monsoon from Pro Football Focus, who was the one person that cast a vote for Justin Herbert. And a lot of people saying, well, that ended up causing Drake May not to win the award because it ended up being very, very, very close voting between Matthew Stafford and Drake May. And I know Monsoon went on Twitter to try to explain his viewpoint of why. I don't necessarily agree with it. I appreciate him at least giving his train of thought there, but I imagine that's going to be, part of a big part of the conversation on the internet today. And then when it comes to Stafford specifically, yeah, a little bit of a surprise this soon for him to, and I guess that's some of the bigger breaking news to come out of last night is
Mhm.
him saying that he is going to return in 2026 there. And some people thought he might take a little bit longer time to make his decision. Seemed to shock Sean McVay, who was present there in the crowd. I think Puka Nacua was there, and maybe a few other of his teammates as well too. So immediately I thought, okay, Matthew Stafford has announced his intentions for 2026. Come on, Aaron Rodgers, what are you waiting for here? So I don't think Matthew Stafford coming out last night and saying his intentions for the 2026 season will move along Aaron Rodgers in his thought process there. But it was big news nonetheless that the Rams will have their starting quarterback back for the 2026 season.
The closest Rodgers got to the ceremony was catching a stray or two from John Hamm during the opening monologue, and the other closest Steelers adjacent honor was Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year the second time he's won the award. He won it in unanimous fashion. Only the second time a Defensive Player of the Year has won it with all 50 votes, joining J.J. Watt in 2014. Garrett, of course, setting the sack record, so no surprise, and I think even Steeler fans begrudgingly will say this one was deserved.
Yeah, all 50, it was a unanimous for him. All 50 of the voters gave him first place votes there. So that was, as expected, a landslide victory for him. So, what about some of the other awards? Obviously, the 2026 Hall of Fame class was announced. I gotta be real honest with you. I really thought LC Greenwood was going to get in this time. I really did, especially when the Bill Belichick news broke. Now, some are saying that we kind of knew ahead of time that Roger Craig would be the only veteran. I don't know if that was more speculation than anything. I know our own David O kind of read into it that meant that kind of the way some things I guess were worded, that Roger Craig would indeed be the only kind of senior class member this time around. I wasn't willing to go that far in my head, but as it turned out, Roger Craig was the only senior member to get in. But going into last night, I still really thought that this was going to be the year that LC Greenwood got in. He obviously did not. And at this point, you kind of wonder, is this the last really realistic chance for LC Greenwood to get in?
I mean, it's still possible. He'll be on next year's ballot, and we'll see how far he gets. I don't know what new potential senior finalists could be there. You would imagine that Belichick's going to get in after the snubbing of 2026 and that class, but you can have up to 3 of that kind of group of 5 senior committee finalists get in. So that still would open the door for Greenwood to make it. The Hall of Fame class of 2026, although I'm sure you guys know by now, the entire class is Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Adam Vinatieri, Roger Craig, and Luke Kuechly. I think it's well deserved for all those names, but LC Greenwood should very much be part of that group.
Did you think that last night was going to be the night for him or no?
I had felt fairly confident like you initially after hearing that Belichick didn't make it, that Robert Kraft didn't make it, and you felt like, okay, maybe at least two players would make it. It was Craig, Ken Anderson, a former Steelers quarterbacks coach, and Greenwood, of course, and thought maybe if two of those names can get in. And then we heard about Craig about a day or two before that he had gotten the election and was going to be inducted. And so I thought, maybe there's a less chance, but still you can have up to three of the senior guys get in. So I was kind of on the fence about it, just kind of taking it for what it was. But he certainly deserves to get in, and he remains Pittsburgh's biggest Hall of Fame snub.
Yeah, he does. So we'll have to see where that goes from there. Kind of a younger, I think this is described as a quite younger class overall. Look, I mean, Drew Brees getting in. Roger Craig obviously had a storied career. Luke Kuechly had a hell of a career that was obviously shortened by concussions. Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, you had to think he really had a strong chance to get in. I think some of the thing and some of the topics related to Larry Fitzgerald is, man, what does this do to that log jam at the top of the wide receiver position? Guys like Torrey Holt and, man, we could probably go down the
Reggie
list.
Wayne.
Yeah, Reggie Wayne and obviously Hines Ward and all. Him getting in before several of those guys did still does nothing to that kind of log jam of a little bit older players there. So I think we're still several years away from potentially Hines Ward maybe getting in, if ever.
It's going to be senior committee. If there's ever
Yeah.
a path for him, it's going to be the senior committee route. I've said that for a long time.
Right, and then what all's going to transpire? Will he just get pushed down and kind of forgotten? As time goes on, much in I guess the way that LC Greenwood has at this point here. So, I mean, look, I mean, all those guys are deserving that got in, but I was a little bit surprised, that it wasn't a little bit larger class. Obviously, there's a whole Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft discussion that's still ongoing and all. And I thought, who was it from the NFL Network that said, well, Judy Batista, I think, tweeted out, well, at least we knew about uh, the whole Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft thing well ahead of time so that it didn't so like the shock and awe, I guess, didn't take away from what, those that were announced last night. And yeah, I suppose there is some truth to that overall, but and then now I guess we look ahead to the 2027 class, and already they've got the long list of people that'll be first time eligible. Several Steelers on that list. In the headline, obviously by Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown's on there. Saw even Le'Veon Bell's name on the list. I don't think either of us expect Antonio Brown or Le'Veon Bell to get into Pro Football Hall of Fame, especially first ballot guys next year. But the question does become when you have a guy like Eli Manning who did not get in this time, but you did have a guy like Drew Brees get in, and then you look at still the long list of other candidates, not necessarily first ballot guys next year. Will Ben Roethlisberger a year from now, will we be talking about Ben Roethlisberger being a member of the class of 2027? And I'm not convinced that we will be.
I think that's fair. I would use that same phrase. I'm not convinced he will get in. I think he should get in. I think he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't have much question or reservation about that, but there'll be a tough group. I think putting aside the non-Steelers names of the first-time eligibles from that list, Gronk and AP, Adrian Peterson, those are, I think, virtual locks to get in. So there's two names there. We'll see, obviously, the holdovers from previous classes, including this one of who might else compete and try to get in. Ben versus Eli. I think Ben has a better resume overall than Eli, both with 2 Super Bowl wins, but Ben just a better quarterback throughout his career, the higher rated quarterback. So we'll see. Obviously, Antonio Brown has the talent to be first ballot, but there's no way he's going to be first ballot or maybe any ballot given the everything else that's happened in his post-playing career. So that's not a name that's going to be considered. So I think you're looking at Gronk, Peterson, Sherman, Cam Newton will be an interesting conversation there, Ben, as some of the real headline names for new faces and new names for 2027.
Some people, I think even Tone Diggs has some comparative stats from StatHead up this morning, looking at the careers of Drew Brees, Eli Manning, and Ben Roethlisberger. Brees, obviously one Super Bowl championship. Ben has two. Eli Manning has two Pro Bowls, 6 for Ben, 4 for Eli Manning, 13 for Drew Brees, all pro. Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger were never all pros. Drew Brees was 5 times AP Offensive Player of the Year. Drew Brees was twice. None for Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning. Super Bowl MVP, obviously Eli Manning twice. Drew Brees once. Ben Roethlisberger none. But when you look at individual stats and all, Ben Roethlisberger obviously holds his own when it comes to Drew Brees and Eli Manning. If I don't think, I mean, could we see a situation where Eli Manning gets in before Ben Roethlisberger? I would tend to think no, but once again, when it comes to the list of eligible guy, a few years ago, kind of immediately when Ben Roethlisberger retired, I think the collective thought was, oh yeah, first ballot guy going to get in. I'm not so sure I have that confidence level right now. Now, do I think Ben will get in at some point here within the next, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years? Yes, I do. But I'm not as convinced as I was, say, even just a couple of years ago, that it will be a first ballot guy next year in 2026. Now that everything's transpired.
And that's largely because of the thresholds have changed for the hall. These classes have gotten smaller. I think you've seen in the past, 5 years ago, they were classes of 7 to 8 names. I think last year's 4 names. This year, it's 5 names. And so it's just a more selective process. And maybe intrinsically, I can get on board with that because the Hall of Fame should be a pretty selective group. But I think the NFL or the Hall or whatever powers that be that decide these things need to make this a simpler process, a more up-down vote, and I'm okay with slightly larger classes because of that. So if you only have 4 or 5 names getting in next year, if that trend continues, and we assume that Gronk is going to be one, and Adrian Peterson will be one, and we'll assume some senior, Belichick's gonna be one next year, so that's 3 right there. That may leave only, say, 2 spots left for somebody else, and that's just going to naturally create a tougher path for guys like Ben.
Should Ben get in before Eli Manning? The only thing that Eli Manning has over Ben, if we're being realistic here, is the fact that he's got 2 Super Bowl MVPs.
And those coming against the Patriots, and there was kind of the lure of taking down Tom Brady, even though that's not a tangible thing. But I think Ben's resume is just simply stronger than Eli across the board.
I do as well. So then, we'll look ahead. But once again, you look at the list of candidates, that will be on the list next year, obviously, and the new names on there. And I do wonder if a year from now we'll be talking about Ben. I think we will talk about Ben in the Hall of Fame within the next 5 years. Once again, I'm just not as convinced it'll happen next year.
He should be one of those 15 final modern era finalists at the least. And so that would obviously take it down to will he get the knock or not? So that's where that initial starting point should be. Both agreed should end in that knock and getting that call that he'll be inducted into Canton, but we'll have to wait and see. Should mention, by the way, new Steelers assistant O-line coach Jerry Evans, one of those 15 finalists, he did not get into the Hall of Fame. He did not even make that they go from 15 to 10, then I think to 7, and they officially vote on those final 7, and Evans did not even make that whittled down list of 10. So his path to the Hall may be a little farther away.
I didn't see that cut. Did Eli make that cut?
I have to check. I forget exactly. Was it Rob Maddie that might have posted it? I forget who it was that
Okay.
I just saw it scrolling last night, or it might have been who's the Colts beat writer. I'll have to maybe try to look and send it to you. I can't probably
Okay.
find it off top of my head right now, but that was interesting to see a little bit of transparency about the process.
Okay.
I went out now. I do want to find that, so give me
All right.
1 second to try to look that up. I think it's from Mike Chappelle. I think he tweeted out the list somewhere. Yeah, the selection process, the final 10. Is this 10? Looks like Vinatieri, Breeze, Fitzgerald, Kuechly, Anderson, Gore, Woodson, Witten, Suggs, Yonda were the final 10. And then 7, they cut it to 7. Vinatieri, Breeze, Fitz, Kuechly, Anderson, Yonda, and Suggs.
Okay. And some good names still in that list of those 10 that obviously did not make it, but Manning not in the 10, right?
Correct. Does not look like Eli made that list to 10. So suggesting that potentially Ben has a decent chance to get the nod over him if voters are, relatively speaking, lukewarm on Eli Manning's chances.
All right. I'll tell you this: if Eli makes the final cut to 10 next year, then Ben definitely should as well.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It'll be interesting there. So that is your Hall of Fame class of 2026 will officially be enshrined this August. And again, LC Greenwood deserves to be among them.
Agreed.
All right, Dave, where to from here? Let's talk about the coaching situation and the coaching additions. And Pittsburgh's made several more hires. I think we talked about Angelico. I don't know if we talked about that being officially official, but that has been announced by the team since we last spoke. And then some lower level assistants have been added. I'll just kind of read them off. Do you want to go one by one? You want me to read the whole list and we'll take it from there? How do you want me to set this up for you, Dave?
However you want to do it. We just got a few newer names, though, right?
Right. Let's go one by one here. Offensive quality control. Eric Simonelli is going to be hired. He was the assistant linebackers at TCU last year. He worked with McCarthy in Dallas. He was there before McCarthy, but they worked together for several years. Simonelli was initially on the analytics side and then kind of transitioned into a coach. He was working, I forget what side of the ball he was working on there, but kind of a liaison, sort of a go-between the analytics side and the coaching side. That's kind of the role that McCarthy put Simonelli in. And so despite that defensive background at TCU last year, will be offensive quality control, which is, a catch-all term, kind of do whatever is needed, especially game planning, maybe look at a subset of how is this team, what is their red zone tendency, what's their third down tendency, what's their gadget play tendency, just kind of whatever is needed to assist on that side of the ball and part of that prep work. So that'll be Simonelli's job.
All right, I knew nothing about him when his name came across, so I had to do what limited research there. And I think originally people thought, or I think the way that the original report was that he was going to be like a linebackers coach, but obviously switching to the offensive side of the ball, which isn't really all that uncommon, especially for lower levels, I guess, quality control type situations there. So yeah, but a name that certainly came out of nowhere.
Just got some sad news across the NFL. Sonny Jurgensen just passed away. The Commanders announcing that at 91, the Hall of Fame
Wow.
quarterback just passed away, according to the statement from the Washington Commanders.
All right.
Going back now to the coaching staff, I think it's the only one offensively. We do now know the title for Frank Cignetti Jr. We've known his hire for quite some time, but he is now officially the senior offensive assistant, which is a title that I kind of figured he would get. Didn't think OC was going to be the right fit for him whenever we mused about him shortly after the McCarthy hire. So again, sort of a catch-all thing. I think Mike Sullivan held that title in the past, just another set of eyes and ears to help out the coaching staff on offense.
All right. I don't think yet, though, the team has officially announced him yet, though, right?
I always lose track of who's officially announced and who isn't announced by the team officially.
I'm looking at the team website and the media side, and we'll probably hope maybe by later on this afternoon we'll get another list of official people yet. But yeah, you're right. At least the latest report is that Cignetti will be a senior offensive assistant.
It does look like the team website on the front office page is updated. Cignetti's name is not on there yet, but I assume that's going to happen relatively soon. Daryl Young's name is still on there as a director of player development. That would suggest, although I'm a little careful to say with certainty, but would suggest that Young is staying, and Gary Guimont is still on there as a senior conditioning coordinator. So I wonder if he's going to stick around too.
All right. What other news did we get on the couple of additions?
Couple of linebackers coaches being added, one that had been reported and now made official, at least reported to be official. I don't think the team has confirmed this yet, but we just talk about, he was a candidate, and now the reported hire being imminent in CJ Ayu, the former NFL player, spent time at Texas Tech, was the interim DC in 2022, was coaching linebackers down there, including potential and almost certain first-round pick, potential maybe top 15 pick, and David Bailey. So CJ Ayu has been reportedly added, and the team reported to hire Shawn Howe, a college coach, kind of an unknown name there from Montana State, where he was co-DC down there. He's had a long career coaching at a bunch of different colleges, including USC, where he was working with Leonard Williams. So that's an interesting hire. I assume that maybe Ayu is going to be the head outside linebackers coach, with Howe more the assistant. Those titles have not been sussed out yet, but Pittsburgh adding a couple of linebackers coaches.
Yeah, that would make sense. And we'll have to wait for the official listing there. Right now, we just have them being known as outside linebackers coach, but coaches. So that could obviously change. And we had a little conversation the other day about Ayu, so he's not a new name to us discussing. But Hal is another one that I had to quickly run down, try to learn a little bit. And really, there's not much to learn about him other than where he's been. Where he was at was just a one year stay in his most recent spot, right at Montana State.
I think he's been there since 2021, according to the tweet I'm reading right now. So been there. Is it Howe? It's probably Howe. I think I said Howe, Shawn Howe, but I think Howe is probably the correct pronunciation on that. But he's been to a bunch of different colleges: USC, Coastal Carolina, Dixie State, Humboldt State, Tennessee, Memphis, NC State, Rocky Mountain. Kind of reminds me of Grady Brown. He had that sort of long college career, big schools, small schools, before he became the DB's coach in Pittsburgh, and now, of course, in New Orleans. So it's kind of the career arc that reminds me of Shawn Howe here, of very similar to Grady Brown.
All right, and no notable links that we can draw back to McCarthy there, right?
No, I do wonder what that connection is. I'm sure there may be some link of how McCarthy decided to tab him, but Montana State's had good defenses. They've been a pretty good FCS powerhouse, so interesting name there, and I would very much assume that this means Denzel Martin is not being retained. I know the Cowboys had interviewed him as a linebackers coach. I don't believe that hire was ever reported, but Martin probably looking for work elsewhere in 2026.
All right. Who else do we have to talk about today?
Couple more names here. Defensive quality control, again, pretty low level, very much like Simonelli for Pat Reilly, which I know sounds like the basketball term there, but Pat Reilly had been with the Houston Texans last year. The team announcing that actually was an official announcement by Pittsburgh that had not been previously reported. So kind of interesting that he fell through the cracks. He was at SUNY Brockport, SUNY Cortland, Syracuse. Wonder if there's a connection either with Angelico, because he was coaching at SUNY Brockport way back then, not with Reilly, but wonder if there's just kind of a familiarity, or even with Scarnecchia, because he worked at Syracuse too. I don't know if the Reilly and him overlapped, and I didn't investigate that. But again, just looking at, things will vary each week in game planning, game prep, assisting in practice, maybe running card defense, that kind of stuff. That'll be Reilly's role.
All right, another new name that came out of nowhere.
Right. Another name that we had kind of pegged as a potential candidate to be hired once the McCarthy hire was known. That is Joe Whitt Jr., who is going to have the title of assistant head coach and secondary coach. We don't know exactly who will be, maybe head secondary coach with him and Jason Simmons, but Joe Whitt Jr., there's definitely strong connections to McCarthy there. They spent about a decade together in Green Bay. Whitt Jr. was the DC in Washington the past couple seasons, but the unit really struggled in 2025. Dan Quinn took over play calling duties from Whitt midseason, and then fired Whitt after the year. So Whitt Jr. will have that assistant head coach title, which is a little ceremonial, but may help on game day with challenges and in-game decision-making, and also work with the secondary with Jason Simmons, both guys coming over from Washington.
All right, and he broke into the NFL, I think, as assistant defensive backs coach with the Falcons in 2007, and then after 1 year there, over to Green Bay in 2008, was with Green Bay 2008 through 2018. So McCarthy knows him quite well. Since then, passing game coordinator, secondary coach with the Browns in 2019, same position with the Falcons in 2020, and then back, I believe, with McCarthy again in Dallas 2021 to 2023, and then the last 2 seasons, defensive coordinator with the Commanders. So a lot of coaching, NFL coaching experience, and obviously strong ties with McCarthy there.
And you'd posted the one clinic clip with Junior talking about disguising coverages and really the importance of giving that different post-snap look to quarterbacks and receivers to try to make them play a little slower.
All right. A lot of experience there, which is good.
Finally, the last name that's been reported out is a special teams assistant, apparently with a title. This has not been official by the team, but reported senior special teams assistant Derius Swinton II. Despite being only 40 years old, he's been coaching in the NFL for a long time, most recently with the Las Vegas Raiders, where he coached with Patrick Graham, who's now the DC. He's been a special teams coordinator with the Chargers for 1 season, and he was somewhere else as the head special teams coordinator in San Francisco in 2016, but again, spending just 1 year in that role. But he's been a long-time assistant, and so he will help out special teams coordinator Danny Crossman in Pittsburgh. For the first time since 2011, we'll have 2 coaches with a title of special teams. Pittsburgh was the only team with a one-man band of Danny Smith. Again, other people helped him, but the only one that had the actual title was Danny Smith. And so kind of figured they were going to add another assistant here because it is every other team had been doing it. And so it'll be Crossman and Swinton leading special teams.
All right. And we don't know if maybe Patrick Graham was kind of the connection there that led to all this, because there doesn't look to be any hard links back to McCarthy, but Swinton has been in the NFL as a coach or at least quality control guy since 2009. So he's been around the NFL quite a while. Broke in with the St. Louis Rams in 2009. Has had stops with Kansas City, Denver, Chicago, San Francisco, Chicago again, the Lions in 2018, the Cardinals in 2020, the Chargers in 2021, and the last 3 seasons with the Raiders. And I guess that's another one that was able to survive a few regime changes there in Las Vegas, much like Patrick Graham did there. So that probably speaks to a little something.
Yeah, and again, in that assistant role, so I don't believe there's any overlap with Crossman either, but those 2 guys will be working together and really hoping that they can boost the return units for Pittsburgh that have been pretty dormant, and the kick return game especially has been poor under these new dynamic kickoff rules, so they can jumpstart that, and then, of course, keep everything else steady, Eddie, then that'll be a success.
All right. Well, we're getting pretty full here, it seems, at this point. What is the total up to, and does that mean I guess we'll wait to find out. Brian Angelico, is it a slash tight ends type coach, or are they going to fill this tight ends coach role with a separate person there?
I would expect to have a dedicated tight ends coach on staff and not Angelico have both roles, but we'll see. Obviously, Angelico's been a long time tight ends coach, and so in theory, you could do it, but for a coaching staff, we expect to be larger than the past to kind of budget with one guy doing both those jobs seems to be a little inefficient, especially with training camp and handling practice and those types of things. But it depends exactly who you count as the coaches. Are you counting the S&C staff? Are you counting Skarnecki as the chief of staff? But, by my count of the on-field coaches, so just putting aside the strength and conditioning coaches and even Skarnecki, I think you're at 19 total. That includes Mike McCarthy. Pittsburgh had 19 coaches last year, so they're probably going to speed past that. You assume the tight ends coach comes in, that puts you at 20. You probably hire 1 or 2 more guys for offense, defensive roles, so that's going to get you up to probably in that 22 type of range, which is typical for Mike McCarthy staffs.
Do you think we'll see like an assistant defensive line coach with D'Amato Pecco essentially being, newish?
It's all possible. Patrick Graham has that strong front background, so he can probably help to some degree. Again, it's all possible. We'll have to see exactly where this staff kind of settles in at. Will you see one or two more kind of lower level assistants? Will you get another special teams coach in there? It's possible. We'll just have to see. But probably, you're going to get a tight ends coach. You're going to get another name in there. I think maybe one or two after that, and that might be the list.
All right. So obviously a larger coaching staff than last year.
That's likely where it's to be. Where I want to let the dust settle, get everything in official, and then we kind of look at it. And again, it depends. Do you count Scarnecchia as a coach on staff? I mean, he is, but whenever I do the studies each year looking at that, I wasn't including kind of those personal aides in a sense to the head coach Scarnecchia not having a true on-field role where he's developing players or teaching players, at least not based off his title of chief of staff and what he's done in the past. So just for being consistent with my study, I probably won't end up counting him to make everything apples to apples. But obviously, he's still on staff. That's a new role, and that's something expanded in Pittsburgh.
All right. A couple of outgoing coaches we've got status updates on. Carl Dunbar has a landing spot.
He does. It's with the New York Jets as their new defensive line coach for Aaron Glenn in that turned over coaching staff. So not surprised that Dunbar found work really quickly. I think he's a good coach. He's a quality coach. He's well known, well respected. There's a combine drill, where he basically runs one of the combine drills each year. So figured he would land on his feet. Just kind of felt like it was time to move on. I know that's such a catch-all phrase to say it's time to move on. What exactly does that mean? There was some good individual development, but collectively the group probably hadn't grown the way that it needed to, especially with gap discipline and gap integrity, stopping the run, being consistent there the last 2 years. So I think a new face was needed.
All right. And late last night, offensive assistant Matt Baker looks like he has a new landing spot, right?
Yeah, it's with Cleveland as their assistant quarterbacks coach. I thought he might follow Arthur Smith to Ohio State because he followed him to Pittsburgh in the first place as an assistant there. So Baker, not underreported, but kind of an unknown name in Pittsburgh the last 2 years, one of Arthur Smith's guys. He had the title of just offensive assistant in Pittsburgh, but he primarily worked with the quarterbacks. He was a quarterback. You watch him in training camp, him and Tom Arthur be going over stuff pre-practice, going through some early drills there, and that's where Baker spent most of his time. So he will go to Cleveland to help out whoever their quarterback of the future is, whether that's Shador, a new draft pick, free agent, whoever that may be.
All right. Let's see. Keeping with the kind of the coaching staff theme here, you got a chance to talk to former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver DeMarcus Ayers. And I don't know how long of interview you had with him, but you have an article up on the site this morning talking about his links to new wide receivers coach Adam Henry from the time the two spent the one season at Indiana, which we have covered a little bit already, specifically, I guess, with the links to Omar Cooper, right? Who's going to be in this year's draft class, probably a second round wide receiver more than likely. But tell us, how about tease that a little bit about your talk with DeMarcus Ayers and what more you learned about Adam Henry in doing so.
Yeah, it was a really good conversation with Ayers, about a 40-minute convo we had, just kind of talking. And, he's getting back in the coaching scene. And so he's looking for some jobs and talking to some colleges and even NFL teams. But he worked with Adam Henry in 2022, where Ayers was kind of the assistant receivers coach and Henry was the lead receivers coach at Indiana just for that one season. They parted ways after Henry went to Buffalo and Ayers went down to North Texas, but just good to kind of get to know the man and Henry, an experienced guy, apparently very humble and with a lot of humility despite coaching and developing some big names like Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry and working with Amari Cooper in Dallas at the NFL level, and then working with Odell with the Giants and the Browns. There's some really strong links there. And just the article talking about some of the coaching points, Henry really preaching being a hands catcher, working on releases, making drills applicable from the practice field to the game. So there is a real why and real utility in those things. So seems like a really good dude. Took Ayers in. He stayed at this house, Ayers did, whenever Ayers was still looking for a house and trying to get his affairs in order whenever he went up to Indiana, knowing nobody else whenever he got the job there. So just a long-ranging interview, and as you talked about, a really good relationship with Omar Cooper, despite Cooper effectively redshirting that first year, barely playing on offense, doing some kick return work. That Adam Henry and Ayers behind the scenes were really working with Omar Cooper, developing him, and Ayers said it was no surprise to see Cooper having the success that he's had the past 2 years. So there could be some real ties there. Obviously, Henry not a decision maker on whether or not Cooper gets drafted by Pittsburgh, but the link there, the behind the scenes knowledge Pittsburgh will have about Cooper will give them an advantage whenever it comes to scouting and judging and evaluating him. When I watched the tape on Cooper, wrote the report yesterday, really impressed by him. He's kind of one of my first draft crushes of the year. Pittsburgh needs a route runner, somebody who gets open, somebody who beats man coverage. Cooper has that, the burst, the nuance in his route, the development he's shown throughout his career, the maturity that he's brought, the hands catching, the strength, the yak. I mean, the top end speed's not there. He's not going to be a true burner, probably run low 4.5 kind of a guy, but everything else is there. This guy gets open. So this guy I really have an eye on, Dave.
All right, come the Indiana Pro Day, we'll be surprised if at least Adam Henry is not at that Pro Day. I think that was one of the things immediately when Henry was announced as the new coach. That I think I put that in our Discord channel. Hey, somebody needs to probably write about the links here, and the more that you've learned about him, and obviously through the interview with DeMarcus Ayers, if we were to fast forward to let's say the second or third round of the NFL draft, and I tell you the Steelers selected Omar Cooper Jr., your shocked face would not be worth mentioning, right?
Yeah, certainly would not be shocked, and I'd be my happy face would be on because I think Cooper would be a really strong pick there.
All right, and he's a guy that could at Indiana, I think primarily was used in the slot, but had a fairly decent percentage of snaps outside. A guy that could potentially play all three spots if needed at the NFL level. So definitely a name to watch. You know, every year I like to do a full kind of contextualization on a season of, let's say, a wide receiver or an edge rusher or something along those lines. I think Omar Cooper might be that guy that I focus on in the next couple of weeks here of doing one of those.
And Cooper was an outside guy until this year. He was primarily an outside receiver, and he was supposed to be that for 2025. But then one of their transfer kids from Michigan tore his ACL in spring ball, and that kind of left Indiana having to scramble who's going to play the slot for us. And they tried a couple different guys, and Signetti said that Cooper was just the most comfortable guy there. So if you look at the 24 tape and 23 tape, he was an outside guy, didn't play in the slot much, but you're right, this year played almost exclusively in the slot, only played outside in 12 personnel. So but he's got that versatility. He can play all three spots.
I did not realize DeMarcus Ayers had, some sort of automobile accident or something?
Yeah, I don't know how much is on record about that, but he mentioned that he got in a car accident, I think this past year, and had to spend a lot of time rehabbing and recovering. That's why he was out of coaching this year. But he's healthy now. He's feeling good. He says he's able to be there for his kids, and that was kind of his focus, was focusing on family this year and getting his body right. So he's good to go, and he's talking about some potential NFL or college jobs. So really good dude, really good conversation. Really appreciate his time. So check out the interview on the site.
All right, is he done with trying to play in some of the other spring leagues and all?
Yeah, I think he's now transitioned into a coach. He's been coaching for a couple of years at Indiana, at North Texas. He's done a little high school work, so I think he's in that. He talks about he wants to be a positional coach someday, and Henry helped him do that, helped him run a couple meetings and kind of put him through some of that stuff, which Henry had no obligation to do. Henry was still running the receiver group overall, but giving Ayers some smaller opportunities to do some lead receiver things so he can be prepared for that role someday, and I think Ayers could certainly do a great job of that. So, yeah, appreciate his time, and again, check out the interview up on the top of the website.
All right, good job by you. Good get there. That's a very good read, so we invite everybody to go by the site and read that. What else do we have?
I think that's it for Steelers. Well, okay, there is one more piece of Steelers news, and again, we hate talking about it, but these things are relevant and pertinent, and you have to at least mention it. Off the DK Metcalf Lions fan altercation interaction, we talked about the $100 million defamation lawsuit on Wednesday. Another layer, there may be some criminal investigation to this as well, according to the Detroit Free Press. Police are still looking into this incident. A warrant is being reviewed. We don't know who that warrant is for and targeting and the details of it. and probably won't know until there's any sort of conclusion on what the outcome of that warrant will be, whether or not it'll be officially issued. So police are investigating the Metcalf situation.
All right. Hopefully, our next update on this is there's not much for them to pursue when it comes to this, and then obviously we'll see how this lawsuit goes. But I think we both view this as a cash grab here by the Lions fan, and I don't. I mean, I don't know how you can charge DK with anything here.
Yeah, again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I mean, he did make contact, so could you try to, talk about a simple assault type of charge? It's not a crazy idea based on the events, so we'll just let the process play out and go from there. Even if there is a charge, I mean, I don't know what the penalty is for that, but we'll let you know if anything else comes from that. But we have to at least mention that it's the off season right now, so you wouldn't think any sort of situation is going to really impact the team too much, but obviously still need to monitor the situation.
All right. Does Adam Thielen sound like he's retired, or
Sounds Favre retired. Brett
Huh?
Favre retired. He sounds Brett Favre retired. Kind of retired, but kind of not.
all right. So could there be a possibility that if Aaron Rodgers decided to play for the Steelers in 2020 or wherever Aaron Rodgers lands, is there a tiny possibility that Adam Thielen would consider playing, you think?
Well, if Rodgers goes to Minnesota, I don't think Thielen's going back because he didn't have a great time in his second act there. I mean, it comes down to would Pittsburgh want Thielen back? Just because Rodgers comes back, and even if Thielen wants to return midseason, doesn't mean that Pittsburgh is going to bring him back. He'll be a 36-year-old receiver by the start of the regular season. So I think you just move on. I think he played a fine role, but he's going to be 36 years old. You're going to bring in a lot new talent here. I don't know what Thielen is really serving you, so probably not.
All right. And even if he did sign with the Steelers, you would expect that to be for the damn near the minimum, right?
Of course, yeah, you're not going to get anything. There's no market for Thielen at this point. And he said his retirement decision was not about, like, his body felt good, but he just realized, like, I'm not playing. Teams really don't have a lot of interest in me. Even in Pittsburgh, he was getting some involvement, but still caught, 11 passes in 5 games, whatever it was. It wasn't a lot of action, a little more in the run game, but writing was kind of on the wall. So just go out healthy. And he had a great career, man. What a great story. Undrafted free agent, Minnesota State Mankato, Pro Bowler, tremendous, Vikings legend. So just go out on that term, be with your family. That's probably the best thing for him.
All right. And one final other note about honors last night that we wrote about. They overlooked Craig Wolfley in the In Memoriam tribute that they do every year. Now, look, every year, I think you could probably go down a list. They forgot this guy, forgot this guy, forgot that guy. But it's quite the oversight with Craig Wolfley, not only because the amount of games that he played in the NFL and obviously into the playoffs as well too. But this was a guy that was involved for several years with the broadcast team of Steelers games. So it not only are we talking about a former player here, we're talking about a guy that up until his death was still very much in NFL circles, being with the broadcast team there. So it was sad to see him overlooked. And once again, was he the only one that's omitted? And if they included everybody with NFL ties, would that how long would that segment have been? 10 minutes. I don't know, but it was quite notable that Craig Wolfley was omitted from that, considering some of the other names that they included within that memorial tribute. So it feels like they got to be a little bit more careful of going through, in putting these together. And sure, you're probably not going to get everybody all the time, but it does seem like quite the oversight with Craig Wolfley there.
It was a shame. He should be remembered and honored, like you said, not just for the on-field career, which how many games did Wolf play? He played a ton of games. I mean, he was in Pittsburgh's lineup for a long time, him and Tunch. I mean, 153 NFL games, 104 starts. I mean, that's one heck of a career for a 5th-round pick. And so for him to be omitted was disappointing. I know others were too. Virginia McCaskey wasn't on there, the Bears' longtime owner. Don't know how she doesn't get put on that list. I saw somebody point that. I think only one Steeler was on that in memoriam montage or tribute. Ray Seals. Was any other Steeler on there? I might be forgetting if there was another one on that list or not. But either way, Wolf definitely should have been included. So that was disappointing.
All right.
Anything from Radio Row this week? I know Alex Highsmith spoke. Kim Hayward did 74 interviews. I think he's also going to be doing some pregame coverage. I forget the exacts. Maybe you can color in the lines here, Dave. Some pregame coverage with Aaron Donald and others for the Super Bowl this weekend.
Yeah, there was a note in a press release from NBC. Let me see if I can pull it up quickly here. Where's the main headline here? Where's the press release?
Looks like pregame show.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan, Aaron Donald, Cameron Hayward, and Fred Warner to join the Super Bowl LX pregame show this Sunday on NBC and Peacock. So, and look, this is obviously not new for Cam Hayward. Been doing stuff at you name it. He's been on Good Morning Football quite a bit and all. Obviously, once his playing career finally ends, I would expect we're going to continue to see Cam Hayward on some of these pregame shows moving forward there. So something to look for when it comes to this weekend, specifically in Cam Hayward at the Super Bowl.
You don't view this as a sign, though, that he's closer to he's going to retire because he's doing all this TV stuff now, and this is sort of his transition right into it.
No, but I don't think we have still a definitive that he's coming back, but I don't take this as, he's going to be on the pregame show, Super Bowl pregame show. That's that means he's unequivocally going to decide to retire. I don't, and I think in the limited stuff that he's been asked about it on some of these other Radio Row shows, like I think the door is still quite open. And quite honestly, I think I kind of lean to him playing out this final year right now still.
Agreed. He did make a reference, I think, with Rich Eisen about the contract and the money not being a deciding factor in his return. Now, does that 100% mean if he does return, he won't look for another contract tweak this summer? I guess you can't say that unequivocally, but it would seem to indicate he's not going to go down this road of, for a third straight year, of I want some sort of contract adjustment the way that he did the last 2 years, especially last year where he went to the team in February and said, I want this contract redone because I had a great 2024 and I deserve to be paid more. It doesn't sound like he's going to do that again, but I guess I can't say that with clear certainty.
The only thing I could potentially see him going to the team and saying is, hey, can you give me the same deal, or at least the same incentive package that I had last year?
And he did not hit those incentives at all. Correct?
No, he did not hit any, because what in the sacks, like 8.5 or something like that, and he obviously didn't hit that. But and then there was the playoff. What else was in there? Playoff win. And
I think making the playoffs. I think playoff win. But he also had to have the sacks, like you said, and he didn't have the sacks to fulfill both those requirements. Now there was that thing about that roster bonus too that would have been reduced, but I think that's moot because he played enough snaps, right, to fulfill. It's kind of a weird incentive deal where there was risk with the new contract adjustment. Now he's got a roster bonus due in March, right, of $13 million.
Right, they're almost $13.5 million. So that's the first thing. You're not going to pay that, and then you're going to want his decision on whether or not he's coming back. Yeah.
So do we have the exact date on that? Is that a March?
I think it's March 17th. It's usually either 3 or 5 days after the start of the new league year.
Okay, so that March 11th is the first day of the new league year. So yeah, 16th, 17th, thereabouts sounds right. So you would expect some sort of decision from Hayward at that point so the team can decide whether or not. I mean, in theory, if they exercise his roster bonus and then he retired, they could just claw that.
March 12th. I'm sorry, March 12th.
Okay. So one day after the new league year begins, they could just claw that roster bonus back in all likelihood, right? If he just up and retired.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong. It's 12.95 roster bonus this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was rounding up to 13.
Right. I said 13.5 because last year's was 13.45. Okay. So I was looking at the wrong one.
But
But
if
regardless, you're going to have that decision by the time you pay the roster bonus.
But in theory, if you did pay him the roster bonus and then he retired a week later, you could just probably claw that roster bonus back, you would think, right?
Yeah, I would imagine you could. But would they?
I think in that case they would. I mean, it'd be understandable to be like, you can't. But either way, I mean, I think the point, I'm getting over my skis. The point is, the decision should be made and known from both sides. There should be enough communication to know whether or not you're going to come back and all that kind of stuff.
And we're obviously a little over a month away from that decision right now.
Right. All right. Anything else from Radio Row? Highsmith spoke. He's talked to Mike McCarthy. He's talked to Patrick Graham. Just, not much there. Just a general excitement about where this team can go. But not a whole lot else, I think, from Radio Row. I don't know if James Harrison or Joe Hayden said anything, if they had any interviews. I know Rod Woodson talked about being shocked about the McCarthy hire because of his age, but not a whole lot coming out of Radio Row.
That jogged my memory that Joe Hayden is first time eligible for the Pro Bowl next year.
For the Hall of Fame?
I mean, for the Hall of Fame.
What is his resume? 3-time Pro Bowler.
How many time how many first time how many first team all pros? He was a 3-time
0.
Pro Bowler, 0-time all first team all pros. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough road for him.
Second team All Pro in 2013. That was the only All Pro list that he made, but probably never going to make the Hall. Should be in whatever the Browns. So the Browns have a Hall of Honor, Hall of Very Good kind of thing. If they have that,
I believe they do. Ring of Honor or something like that.
Then he should be. Would it be in Pittsburgh's Hall of Honor? That's probably pushing it.
Nah, probably not.
5 years, 10 interceptions, 1 Pro Bowl. Yeah, probably not. But really good dude. Really, I mean, great corner. He was one of the best corners in his prime. But maybe that prime was a little too short to really get him to that next level.
I agreed.
All right, Dave, anything else here Steelers related? Just kind of searching down the site. Got a bunch of scouting reports up, so we're certainly making progress there with our draft coverage. If you watch any draft prospects or have anything that's stuck out to you?
Not in totality, just learning more and more about these names, and then starting next week, I think, is when we'll think about having our Shrine Bowl and Senior Bowl people in and start getting a little bit more in depth. As mentioned with Omar Cooper Jr., I think I'm going to do a contextualization on him, and I think I want to look at that Wisconsin edge rusher who was the Shrine Bowl defensive player. What was his name? That's intrigued me. Mason Reiger had 3 sacks and a forced fumble in the East-West Shrine Bowl. Could be a mid to late round potential ad. Obviously, a former Wisconsin Badger that's going to draw your attention when it comes to the Steelers. I think you and I would agree we do not expect this team to take an edge rusher early in this year's draft, but could we be looking at a 6th or 7th round edge rusher potentially in this draft class, especially if they come close to having 9, 10 draft picks? I think there's a possibility there. So Mason Reiger is a guy that I want to drill down into some contextualization.
What's his projected draft stock, or still early as it is? Is he viewed as a late round guy? Is he viewed as a mid round talent?
Being a Shrine Bowl guy and being the production that he had, I think at Wisconsin, I would view him as a day 3 guy. I think somewhere within there.
Okay, so potentially, yeah, you could take one late. Andy Weidl's got a history of taking pass rushers late. Looks like mock draft database, which, take that for what it's worth, has him as a late round pick. So yeah, that could potentially fit.
2025, and I've just looked at highlights only on him, but 2025 had 32 total tackles, 5 sacks. He also had 5 sacks in 2023. Supposedly had a really good week. Can't wait to talk to Joe and Josh and Mel about the week that he had down there at the Senior Bowl. But I think if you're looking for a late round edge rusher that would fit what the Steelers look for if they were to draft one this year, I think that's a prime candidate there.
All right, Dave. Anything else? We should mention that Jay Glazer apparently was also in that Tomlin inner circle, knowing about his decision to make 2025 his final one coaching, at least for now, where Glazer said that, like Rondé Barber, Tomlin confided in him to let him know that he was not going to coach in 2026, and apparently even thought about stepping down after the 2024 season, came back for one more year. And then during the year, I think about week 8, Glazer said he talked to Tomlin, said, has your mind changed at all? And Tomlin said, nope. And then Glazer said, can I report that? And Tomlin said, nope. And so Glazer had to play dumb. Remember, at the end of the season, he put Tomlin in the we'll see camp, even though he apparently knew that Tomlin was definitely going to be stepping down. But of course, that was a decision that Tomlin wanted to keep under wraps until the team was informed that Tuesday after the playoff loss.
All right. What else did Jay Glazer say about Aaron Rodgers? Something about, I guess, not being in his inner circle anymore.
It was a weird kind of straight comment. First of all, I hope Jay's okay. He did not sound great. I don't know if he's just tired or if he was sick, but he did not sound very good during some of the interviews he did. He wasn't sure about Rodgers, status. He talked about that him and McCarthy have spoken some. McCarthy's on record about that. That's not new information. And then Glazer kind of made some offhanded remark about that Rodgers only returned one of his calls this year, so screw him. I don't know if that was kind of a sarcastic and jesting or if that was him, Glazer, actually being mad. I don't know, but it just seemed like kind of some either sarcastic comment or media beef that I don't really care about, but Glazer made that comment about Rodgers. That drew some attention.
All right. I think we got that wrapped up. Let's talk a little bit about Super Bowl 60.
Yeah, let's do that. It's Seahawks and Patriots, Super Bowl 60 this weekend, this Sunday evening in San Francisco. What are your thoughts here, Dave? It's not been maybe the most, as you like to say, sexy Super Bowl, but there's still some really good football to be played here, some really good chess matches, two defensive-minded coaches, two really good defenses against these quarterbacks. The first-round quarterbacks are different paths. Maybe the franchise guy is going to stay in one spot in all likelihood, and Darnold, the journeyman who's found his way with his 5th NFL team. So take it away. What are your big picture thoughts?
Well, obviously, I haven't gone deep into the tape and previewing this game and all, but I like to think that I know a lot about both these teams just on the peripheral.
Pittsburgh played both these teams,
yeah,
of course.
Pittsburgh played both of them as well too. I do think to start with, this will be the toughest opponent that the New England Patriots will have played this season. There's a lot of chatter about the quality of competition that the Patriots have played this season, especially teams with the winning records and all, versus the kind of being more battle tested team like the Seahawks. But look, you still had to get to this point. You still had to win the playoff games and all. And then obviously, I think the other aspect of it is the experience of the two starting quarterbacks. Sam Darnold's obviously been around the league a lot longer than Drake May has. This is, even though May has played in a couple of the playoff games, this is the big stage for him. I like what both of these two defenses bring to the table here. I do wonder about the aspect of the quality of the competition throughout this. And I think Seattle has the upper hand. It was something to watch over the last couple of days with the ankle injury to Imaware, the safety with Seattle, but it sounds like he's going to be able to come out the other side of that okay. I believe this is the same ankle that he had injured early in the season that caused him to miss a little bit of time. So it is worth watching. There's the whole how much of a concern is the kind of the shoulder issue that Drake May is dealing with. I do like the run game that the Patriots have with obviously the 2-3-headed monster that they have that includes Henderson in the backfield over there. I think pound for pound, though, I think Seattle has the better wide receiver core overall. I do like the matchup of Christian Gonzalez and what he brings to the table with trying to shut down in Jigba. I said that right. Unlike
Yeah, that was that intentional from
I don't
Drewski?
know.
I feels like it was.
There were so many cringe moments, and I seem to have that every year during these things, with these award shows and all. There were quite a few cringe moments. Do you need Roger Goodell behind the
Yeah, that was pretty
turntable?
bad.
Did you need the whole Pope thing with the Bears?
But for this
I
guy to it seems like intentionally mispronounce his name
I
to
know.
a slur to make it all about him is really gross, and I'm gonna sound like a big boomer here, but kind of emblematic of a very selfish society that's been only getting worse.
I can I ask this because I really don't know other than knowing the face from the memes and now from the I think the T-Mobile commercials. What is Drewski's claim to fame?
That's a good question. I am 60 years old in soul, so I really am not familiar with him aside from like you. I think he was just a TikToker or some YouTuber or something like that. So I really don't know how he kind of came to be this really well known figure. But it's all social media, online stuff.
Alright, 'cause, I knew I mean, he's not new to the scene, 'cause I've seen his memes and all forever, but I never really knew who he was or what his claim to fame was. And once again, I mean, I don't you can't turn on a T-Mobile commercial, I don't think, without seeing him and some he's getting more and more commercials. It just hit me last night that it just wh where how did this guy come to be? I guess just the internet, right?
Yeah, it looks like internet YouTuber doing like skits and stuff like that. TikTok, I'm sure. So that seems to be how he came about. But again, that was a really bad. I mean, the cringe stuff is one thing. Like Roger Goodell being the DJ was obviously very cringe, but to intentionally kind of like ruin somebody else's moment, Jason's moment like that is, I don't know, it's pretty disgusting.
I have really gotten old manish with this stuff. I used to, and I can talk pop culture from 80s and 90s and 70s until the cows come home, right? But and man, growing up, I was I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but grew up obviously on a Saturday Night Live kid forever, and you always knew who the guest and the musical guest were and all like that. And I still to this day I tape every Saturday Night Live, and luckily through the magic of DVR I can fast forward through all. But I hardly know who the host is on Saturday Night Live. I very rarely do I know who the musical guest is. Now I've reached that point in my life. Uh, they say that Charlie Puth is going to sing the national anthem this year at the Super Bowl. I don't even know who that is. I obviously know who Bad Bunny is from but I don't know his music and all like that, so I don't know a lot about that. I really have become a boomer at this point. I don't know who any of these people are anymore.
Well, it's like for every celebrity all-star game that they do, they have the list. I just don't know any. I know like two names, and that's kind of tells me that I'm just now officially old. That's kind of my litmus test of how
And
old
you're
I
only
get.
30, right? 31?
32. I
32.
appreciate though you make me a little
Wow.
bit younger than I am. So yeah, it's a different world. This is the most boomer conversation any two
I
guys could
know.
have. But just yeah, not great last night.
All right, back to the game. I really think the Seahawks, in my opinion, feel like they have the upper hand in this one. If not for the Imawari injury, I would think it'd lean a little bit even more lopsided. Now,
So how do the
uh,
Patriots win? What is their advantage? We always kind of play the both sides of if this team wins, how does it look, and vice versa.
they're going to have a couple of explosive plays and a couple of turnovers, I think, in this game specifically. I really think they're going to have to take the football away. I think they can't stomach to have any turnovers on offense, and I think you might have to see like a special teams play from them. Now, look, I think Mike Verbal Mike, you think I'm bad at pronouncing some names on this podcast, man? Once again, how do you not get that right last night?
I mean, like if you don't know the name, I can give a little bit of grace there. That
Right.
seemed to be a sincere just mispronunciation as opposed to
Okay.
Drewski, which certainly felt intentional and gross.
Mike Vrabel, I think, has done. And look, he was the coach of the year. I think that was very deserving with him overall. He's going to have this team ready to go. He's playing the underdog card, I think, quite well. Be interested to see if our buddy Bob Splain, will be able to. He says that he's going to play in this game. I think if anybody's going to force her, Bob Spillane has a ball magnet in him and has ever since he's left Pittsburgh, right? how many clips with the Raiders and the Patriots is like the ball ends up in Bob Spillane's
Well, he had the
hands.
pick on Lamar too in
Yeah,
Pittsburgh. That's kind of his
yeah.
first big play. But yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think he picked off Rodgers this year, but yeah, this dude always he's a playmaker.
I will say this. I think they will need a Bob Spillane ball magnet play in this game to help improve their chances of victory. They're going to have find a way to have some explosive plays because I don't think they're going to get them on the ground. They're going to be tough to come through in the air and all. And I don't think Drake May is going to have a lot of time back there to hold on to the football. The worst thing, I think, for another thing that I think the Patriots are going to have to do, they're going to have ball control within this. They're going to have to keep it where in the later stages of this game that they're not having to drop back and pass to overcome like a two possession score on top of it there. So
Can I interrupt you real quick for some news? I'll give you maybe your due to do. This is not Steelers related. People already probably know it by now. Am I going to get your breaking news alert? Cleveland Browns defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz is stepping down. He's resigning from his role with Cleveland. He is expected apparently to according to one report, sit out the 2026 season because he is under contract with Cleveland right now. So he was obviously frustrated about being passed over for the head coach job. So went to Todd Monken. They were going to try to work things out and try to find a way to settle their differences. But Schwartz is saying, I'm going home. So the Browns DC, one of the top defensive minds in football, will not coach Cleveland in 2026.
All right. I don't have a shock face when it comes to that, especially when Todd Monken didn't have a lot of great answers about what the potential future was for Jim Schwartz the other day during his introductory press conference and all. And I realized that Monken tried to say, we're going to run the same defense and utilize people. Look, Jim Schwartz is an aggressive guy. I understand that you're going to have a lot. And look, that Schlesinger, he's a hell of a damn player over there. And he was the defensive rookie of the year last night on honors. They've got a lot of great pieces over there individually, and we'll have a lot of. What is this? I'm going to go down another rabbit hole on top of a rabbit hole here. But
it's rabbit inception over here.
But if you're Myles Garrett right now, man, and you're in the later stages of your career, and I know you just had that new contract and all, but you saw what happened to him last offseason, even though it might have been crying wolf related to the contract and all like that. He's a big Jim Schwartz guy at this point. How shocked would you be if Myles Garrett comes out and says, especially, I mean, look how unappetizing the quarterback situation is right now. And you got Monken coming in, and you can't help but think that the Browns are going to be picked last in the division again. Sure. At least from where I sit, that should be the case right now. Is there a chance that Myles Garrett, and look, we already see some of this with Crosby as well too. There's I was
just going to say, yeah. He wants out. If he gets traded, this guarantee, hey, Crosby just went to greener pastures. I should do the same.
I mean, what would you do if you're Myles Garrett right now and you're looking at the next 2 years of potentially not being a playoff team and what could very well be your final 2 or 3 season? I mean, he's already won Defensive Player of the Year twice and all, so he's got all those accolades and all like that. That guy probably wants to compete for a championship, and it doesn't feel like he's going to get the chance to do so at the very least the next season. You would think the next two as well too. And Todd Monken, as we went down the list of coaches the other day, to me, this is the single worst hire of this cycle, if you're asking me here. Could we see, now that Schwartz has said that he's stepping down, that Myles Garrett says, I want out. Get me out of here?
I think it's possible. I think you'll wait and see who the DC hire is, because it's still an attractive job on that side of the ball. There's still a lot of talent, like you said, to work with. So we'll see who the hire is. Obviously, Cleveland is pretty late to this process now, having to find that DC, with a lot of those DCs already being hired, with coaching staffs already been in place now for about a week or so. So, yeah, I think that Garrett will be watching what happens with Max Crosby and wonder the same. What if he could go to San Francisco? Garrett could, and go compete for a Super Bowl, there. That'd be a big situation, a big opportunity. So would not be shocked by any reaction that Garrett has.
All right, that's quite interesting there, but I'm not shocked about the news about Schwartz. I'll go back and recap what I said. I think they should have stayed with Stefanski based on the way things have transpired here. But if they hadn't have stayed with Stefanski, they should have just given the reins to Schwartz. I think they would have been better off trying to run it back one more year with Stefanski and Jim Schwartz there, based on how everything has transpired up until this point. And I will not be surprised if Myles Garrett starts hollering. Look, he already had that meme the other day.
Mm-hmm.
That's not just out of the blue type stuff.
Nope.
Right there. So, yeah, how great would it be for the Steelers not to have to face Myles Garrett twice a season?
Yeah, just God forbid he doesn't somehow he wouldn't be traded in division, so I guess there's really no
Right.
concern about where he would end up. It'd be a positive outcome. Yeah, the two very notable coaches not coaching and stepping down, Jeff Stoutland in Philadelphia, what a loss for the Eagles, and now
that's
Jim
curious
Schwartz
as well too. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some behind-the-scenes occurrences in both places that led to those coaches stepping down.
All right. So we'll obviously see how that transpires, but good luck running the same defense that Jim Schwartz had in Cleveland without Jim Schwartz.
Yeah. But back to the Super Bowl, I think, what is the Patriots' path? You talked about kind of the fundamentals, turnover battle, big plays, that kind of stuff. That's par for the course for any game. What about just up front? Can Milton Williams, can that pass rush against Gray Zabel? What a good battle that'll be up front. I think, can you get some pressure? That's always kind of the way to win these games. We've seen so many Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes running for his life in some of these games against Tampa Bay and against the Eagles last year, when defensive line just take over and they win the Super Bowls because of that. So the Patriots don't have maybe that vaunted rush that the Eagles had last year, for example. But if they can have that kind of rush for one game, where Williams and Landry and Chase Young, those guys all step up and make plays, that's probably the way to tip the scales in the Patriots' favor.
Yeah. Once again, I think the Patriots going to have to find some sort of ground attack. They have to play keep away and ball control and field position game overall. They're going to have to make Seattle go long fields overall in this one. They're going to have to have a couple of. It feels more than definitely they're going to have to win the Tox battle in this one by +2 to win the game, meaning explosive plays and turnovers combined on both teams. So that's can they win this game? Once again, I think Mike Vrabel is a hell of a damn coach. I think he's going to have this team ready to go. But everybody thinks they're ready for something until they're punched in the mouth. And I wonder if the Patriots can survive being punched in the mouth early in this game.
But this is a team that's lost one game since playing Pittsburgh in Week 3. It's incredible they lost to the Raiders Week 1. You just look back and wonder how in the world that one happened and how weird Week 1s can be. But they've lost one game since September 22nd. And so, yeah, the schedule was favorable, but still going that kind of running the table. And, of course, winning your playoff games against the Chargers and Texans and Broncos, the latter on the road, is impressive. And so they're a team that Are we taking them seriously enough? Because it does feel like everyone's on Seattle, and understandably so, but the Patriots have just won basically every step of the way, besides that one game they blew against Buffalo.
Right. And they did beat Buffalo earlier in the season, but look at the rest of the teams that they ran through. The Saints.
But it's still hard to win in the
Sure,
NFL, and to run the
and
table
we've
like
said
that is
that before.
incredible.
We've said winning games in the NFL is amazingly tough. And they did so in convincing fashion in a few of these as well too. But I do think that this is going to be. Would you agree that this is their toughest competition of the year? This game, the Seahawks.
Yes.
I would agree.
So we'll see how they respond. And then for Seattle, it's been a great season. I think JSN versus Gonzalez, that matchup, that chess match is going to be interesting. I assume Gonzalez will be traveling. I assume they're going to be trying to get bunches and stacks and free releases for Smith and Jigba the whole game. And so that kind of game within the game is going to be, I think, really interesting. But who else could step up? Could Cooper Kupp have a big game? He's no stranger to these big-time moments. He's been pretty productive in the playoffs, and they caught a touchdown in the NFC title game. So is there kind of a sleeper secondary option, knowing that Smith and Jigba is going to get so much attention, and rightfully so?
Yeah, look, I would, if I'm the Patriots. I mean, what do you want to do? Limit Kenneth Walker? Or what's the main takeaway? The one guy that you can't let kill you in this game. I would like to think it's in Jigba over Walker.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that, again, offensive player of the year. He can take over games. I mean, that is you're doubling him, you're bracketing, you're rolling coverage, you're making other guys win for sure.
All right. So and then we'll have to see how they fare against the running game and the likes of Cooper Kupp and the tight ends, and Darnold's been really, had a good season as well too. So you're going to have to try to get him on the ground, multiple sacks, and try to get him to turn the football over. And he did turn the football over in bunches in that game. They still almost won against the Rams, right? How many turnovers did Darnold have in that game?
Against the Rams, which game? We played the Rams 3 times.
Was it the Rams? Was it the first meeting? Regular season meeting? I forget which game it was.
The first one, they had 4 turnovers. I think Darnold had 4 interceptions. Yeah, and the Rams won that game though.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but Seattle still almost overcame that one, I think, there. But
then you had the crazy OT rematch, the crazy comeback there, where I think Darnold had some turnovers too. And then of course you beat Rams in the title game.
All right, he's only been sacked, I think, 27 times Darnold has during the regular season, 14 interceptions, 67.7% completion percentage, 25 touchdowns. And Drake May obviously was in the running for MVP for a reason there. But
and he had the best adjusted net yards per passing attempt of any quarterback this year, which is your favorite stat.
Mm-hmm.
He bettered Darnold by almost a full yard. So that is, I wonder how many guys who have led the NFL in that stat have won Super Bowls. What the correlation is there?
I'd have to look at that. When it comes to receiving options, though, you have Diggs is their primary guy. I imagine that the Seahawks will try to bottle him up. Their second leading receiver, they're gonna. I tell you, here's an X factor for him. Probably is Hunter Henry in this game. And especially if he ends up getting coverage from a safety and maybe somebody that's dinged up in the likes of in Memoriam, So I think that could potentially be if the Patriots win, maybe we're talking about a dark horse like Hunter Henry, maybe having 10 receptions, 115 yards and a touchdown or 2. Henry did lead the Patriots in touchdown receptions, I believe, with 7 this past year. Diggs only had 5. Overall, they were able to. Butte is another guy that's obviously worth watching, but he only had 33 receptions during the regular season.
Trying to find the last quarterback to lead an adjusted net yards per passing attempt and win the Super Bowl, and I think it's been a long time actually. So, but that's just one data point there. Travion Henderson too. It's a guy that I'm a big fan of. What a great rookie year that he had. One of the finalists for Rookie of the Year, even though it went to Tetaroa McMillan. So, yeah, Ramondre Stevenson. He's had the fumble issues, but has overcome that, and they've stuck with him, and he's they've been rewarded for that kind of patience and perseverance. So, Will Campbell at left tackle, he's had some tougher games lately. So can he protect Drake May? That'll be a key factor as well.
All right, and let's see. They've got Shaheed over there now to go along with Njigba and Cooper Kupp. They won't have Charbonnet, who's out for the season, but Kenneth Walker, is played well all season, obviously. Over 1,000 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, been used in the passing game a little bit as well, too. So I just think top to bottom, offense, defense, even special teams. I think the Patriots do have maybe the slight edge a little bit in special teams, maybe, but and maybe that plays a big part in this game. But I think top to bottom, Seattle is the better team.
Well, Shaheed in the kick return game had that kick return touchdown in the playoffs earlier this year, and so that's a big factor. Kind of reminds me of don't kick the ball to Hester. I was watching the replay of that Colts Bears Super Bowl when Hester returned the opening kickoff back the other way. Yeah, don't kick the ball to Shaheed if the Patriots are kicking off first in this game. I think Drew Brees in 2009, the last quarterback to win the Super Bowl whenever he led the NFL in adjusted net yards per passing attempt in that season. So May would make some pretty recent history.
All right. And both these teams obviously on tears too, right? Because I think the Seattle's last loss was that game that we just talked about in the Rams, where they almost came back to overcame all those turnovers.
Yeah, that was back in week 11. So both 14-3 teams, both teams playing great football. Seattle really played well. Both teams played well in the playoffs, but I think Seattle really poured it on. So, all right, Dave, where to from here? Should we hear from our friends at MyBookie? We're going to do prop bets. How do you want to lay this thing out?
All right, let's start first with a message again from our key advertiser, MyBookie, who sponsors the Terrible Podcast and have for numerous years now. And during the regular season, we use them, and all 3 days during the week since the regular season ended. The Super Bowl is almost finally here, and MyBookie is where you turn your bets into a bankroll. Everybody's watching, everybody's got to take, and this is the one game where the props matter just as much as the score. That's why I use MyBookie, and you should as well too. Their Super Bowl prop board is deep and fun to play. It's the same reason they get talked about every year on the Jimmy Kimmel Live show when the game rolls around. If there was ever a time to get in at MyBookie, it is right now. One account, one wallet, bet the spread, live bet the second half, hit the casino portion of the website during commercials. It all lives in one place at MyBookie. And if you go to mybookie.ag now and you use our promo code TERRIBLE, that's promo code TERRIBLE, you get your first bet covered up to $500. If that bet does not hit, just use your bet back bonus token and run it back again. And obviously, not only do they have NFL coverage lines and props and everything that goes along with the big game, you can bet on the NHL, you can bet on NBA, you can bet on NCAA basketball, men's and women's, anything imaginable. Just look at the selection of games and props that you can bet on at mybookie.ag. So once again, if you're a first-time user, use promo code TERRIBLE. Get your first bet covered this weekend of up to $500. If it doesn't hit, just use that bet back bonus token and run it back again. So don't just watch the big game this weekend. Make it pay for you with MyBookie at mybookie.ag.
All right, Dave, what fun prop bets should we talk about now?
All right, let's go over a few that we actually have on our props contest here. We'll start with the coin toss, heads or tails.
Tails never fails, Dave.
I will go heads. Always choose heads. Who will win the coin toss, the Seahawks or the Patriots?
I'll go the Patriots.
I'll go different from you and go Seahawks. Let's see. Will there be a score in this game in the first 4 minutes and 30 seconds of the game? Any type of score within the first 4 minutes and 30 seconds of the game?
So that includes field goals, like any score you said? Also say no. Both teams will feel each other out. Defensive game early on.
I will say yes. There will at least be some sort of field goal or something. Will the first scoring play of the game be a touchdown, a field goal, or a safety?
Field goal.
I will go field goal along with you. Who will be the team that scores first, the Seahawks or the Patriots?
Say Seattle.
I will see Seattle as well, too. Let's see. Will Jackson Smith and Jigba score a touchdown in this game? Yes or no?
That's a good question. I will surprise. I'll say no.
I will say yes. Will Stephon Diggs score a touchdown in this game?
I'll say yes.
I will say no. Will Sam Darnold throw an interception in this game?
Yes.
I say no. Passing yards for Drake May, over or under 230.5?
Over.
I will take the under. Who will record more receiving yards in this game, Cooper Kupp or Kayshon Boutte?
Cup.
I will go Kupp as well, too. Let's see. Will the most successful field goal of the game be over or under 47.5 yards?
Very specific question. Say under.
Normally in these, I've gone under. I will take over. I think we see one from like 50 or 51
Yeah.
in this
Borregales has a
game.
big leg for the Patriots, so possible.
All right. So there is a few props to chew on. Let's see here. What else can we do on this?
Well, I think maybe just
Go.
make our picks here, get our
All
MVP
right.
votes. I think people can get the rest of the props. Just kind of
All
wanted
right.
to kind of thumb through it there.
All right, let's see. Let me find out the actual what my bookie has the line at right now. 4.5. The Seahawks are favored by 4.5. Who do you have winning this game, and who do you have covering?
Want to give the Patriots their credit, and I think obviously Steeler fans are rooting against the Patriots, and I'm not like going to be screaming at my television, but give me my druthers. I'll take the Seattle Seahawks to win this one, so the Patriots stay tied at 6 Super Bowl wins with Pittsburgh. Don't want New England to jump ahead there because when's the next time Pittsburgh's going to go to a Super Bowl, Dave? That's my terrible take today. I thought about this. It's been 15 years. That ties the longest drought they've had in the Super Bowl era. That tied the 80 to 94 span before they went back in 95 and lost to the Cowboys. So if you had to guess, how far away is this team? They certainly don't seem close to the Super Bowl.
I definitely don't think from where we sit here today that the Steelers will be in Super Bowl 61. And also, Mike McCarthy signed, what was it, a 5-year deal. I will say this. My expectations, and I'm sure the Steelers as well, are that Mike McCarthy better play in an AFC championship game within the next 5 years. When will they go to the Super Bowl again? I don't have a clue right now, especially with this defense aging out, especially with us not knowing the quarterback situation with this team. I think you got to answer the transition of this defense first. First and foremost, you got to figure out who your quarterback's going to be.
Yeah.
And can you get quarterback to get you to that point? And then second, as this defense finishes aging out, what's that going to look like there? Nothing within my crystal ball within the next 2 years at least tells me that this team's going to be in the Super Bowl. So beyond that, I mean, we're a 2-year window for an NFL team. Any NFL team's tough at this point.
Yeah, obviously it's an impossible question to ask and answer. The NFL changes so much. Look at the Patriots, who would have guessed 2 years ago that he'd be in the Super Bowl by now. No one would have guessed that, and probably would have said similar about Seattle in their transition in the post Pete Carroll world. So let me put the question to you this way. And again, it's all just guessing. It's all just kind of for fun. No one knows. If you had to bet $100, will Pittsburgh be in the Super Bowl or not in the next 5 years? Would you put your $100 on in the Super Bowl? Not win, but just make an appearance. Would you put it on appearance or no appearance next 5 years?
All right. Now, $100 is a lot less than my house.
Okay. Yeah. We'll lower the stakes to make it a little more fun.
$100. Yeah, I'd put it on him to be in the Super Bowl in the next 5 years.
Realistically, what is your actual thought and belief if you had to actually give an answer that wasn't just for fun, like, hey, let's just play with house money? I'll say no.
I'll say no. I'll say no. I'm going to get a lot of pushback here, but once again, it's so hard.
Are you going to get pushback? I don't think you're going to get pushback from a single person to say that that's a crazy statement.
I think we get the bad. I think we'll get the bad fan. Where's your optimism? Why don't you go do a Patriots podcast or something like that? Look, people want to be eternal optimists, right?
Sure.
But nothing from what I see right now realistically leads me to believe in today's NFL, the way the Steelers do business, that they'll be in the Super Bowl in the next 5 years? No.
Next 10 years, $100 bet.
Oh,
Which way would you go?
geez, we're out there now.
No, I know, we're all just guessing. Just an exercise, just completely meaningless, kind of what the show was about.
I mean, I don't know what I would root it in other than just fandom. I would say yes.
I also say no.
Okay.
I think maybe within 15 years, you get one of those shoes, you find the quarterback. It's just hard. It's hard to get there, obviously. Pittsburgh, if you would have said after the loss in 2010, will Pittsburgh be in the Super Bowl next 15 years, you would have said yes, right? You would be like, yeah, they got Ben. The defense is still good. They'll be back. Like, they'll 100%. And here we are.
I mean, and I realize Tom Brady's no longer in the league now, but you usually see the same cast of characters at quarterback, at least. In other words, is Josh Allen going to probably be competing in the playoffs next year?
Yes, of course.
Oh, what about Patrick Mahomes? More than likely.
Yeah, the Chiefs are in a little bit of a weird spot, but yeah, they're always never count them out. Same with, and you're going to give me Lamar, you're going to be Burrow, you're going to be all the names here.
Drake May is here to stay,
Yeah,
right?
Drake May.
I made that rhyme. Who else in the AFC? Who could prevent? I guess. You want to do this? Let's look at the AFC teams right now.
Mm-hmm.
New England. They're more times than not going to be a playoff team over the next decade, right? You would think.
I mean, decade's a long time, but yeah, my question was 10 years. Yeah, they have a franchise quarterback for probably the next decade.
All right, Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long Allen's career will be, but they're going to be in this thing, perennially for his prime.
All right, the Miami and the Jets are looking for a quarterback. Baltimore, as long as Lamar Jackson's there, you would think that they'd be better than an 8-9 team if he's healthy.
Sure.
Burrow's a great quarterback, playoff caliber.
Yeah, obviously health has been an issue and getting over the hump even with him healthy, but yeah, it's still a team with a quarterback going to always be in the mix because of that.
All right. What about Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville? Is that and the coaching staff and what they put together there? The next several years, are they going to be in contention to win that division?
Of course, yeah, they're going to be a playoff caliber team. Yeah.
And then you got at least 3 teams, I would think, in the AFC West right now. In Denver with Bo Nix, the Chargers with Justin Herbert, and obviously Kansas City with Mahomes, right?
Yeah, and then even the up-and-comers, what could Cam Ward become in Tennessee? Obviously, it feels like they're far ways away, but that's how the Patriots felt. Not saying Tennessee's going to be in the Super Bowl next year, but they have a quarterback potentially, and that can do a lot for a franchise. What about the Raiders whenever they get Mendoza with Kubiak? Can that be magic? Who's going to get a quarterback in the 2027 class? So it's obviously all speculation, but the AFC's got a lot of good quarterbacks, and they could develop and continue adding to that.
All right, so based on kind of the quick and dirty exercise that we did, until the Steelers get a quarterback that we think can be a franchise quarterback, we can't talk about them potentially being in the Super Bowl, right?
And that's obvious. I mean, I think it doesn't take a rocket surgeon, as you like to say, to make that point. And obviously, most of these teams are first-round quarterbacks. Not all, but first-rounders is typically how you find that franchise guy. So that'll be Pittsburgh's path. I maintain that's still really the kind of the way out of purgatory. As much as I do like Will Howard, I think the more realistic path to change your fortunes is to find that quarterback in 2027 and aggressively pursue him and go get him.
From what you know right now, would you pull a New Orleans Saints and trade your entire slew of draft picks this year and let's say a first round draft pick, let's say your first and second round draft pick in 2027, would you trade all of that to go up to number 1 to get Mendoza?
No, I don't know if I haven't done this study on Mendoza from a draft scouting report and standpoint, but I don't know if I feel so strongly about Mendoza the way that I would even about a Joe Burrow a couple years ago. Like, this is definitely going to be a dude. I did have one mailbag question about what is a realistic trade package that could potentially work for Mendoza, because I don't think you have to give up 12 draft picks to get Mendoza. My proposal, now I'm not endorsing this, I just think one that makes sense, was trading a first-round pick in 2026, 2027, and 2028, trading your second and third, trading 1 second and 2 third-round picks this year, trading a 2027 second-round pick to get back the number 1 overall pick, a 4th-rounder this year and a 4th-rounder next year is kind of what I think a realistic haul could require to get Mendoza.
Okay. Interesting. I wonder
Means nothing.
what the listeners would think, where they're at on Mendoza.
Would you do that? Would you trade either my proposal or I guess you're more aggressive, just literally the entire farm for Mendoza?
I'll tell you this, if I was given the option to at least trade this entire draft class right now,
Mhm.
all 12 picks and nothing more, I don't think that would probably get it done. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
Uh, I would do it.
Okay, you feel that strongly about Mendoza.
Yeah, I'd risk an entire draft to go up to get Mendoza. Sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Not for Mendoza. I would now if Arch becomes a great guy in 2027, then maybe you feel differently about that. But I mean, is Mendoza considered like an Andrew Luck generational prospect? I don't feel like he's that level quarterback. It feels a little more of the Cam Ward level. Well, like he's a really good quarterback, not doubting that, but he's not like take it to the bank.
Yeah,
Like
then
is he
we'd
even
have
as
to
good
get
as Trevor
into
Lawrence?
have to get in where Mendoza would rank in some of these other classes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I watched a lot of Mendoza this year. I'll just leave it at this. Yeah, I would trade this year's entire draft. I would trade all 12 picks to go up to get Mendoza to take the shot. Yes, I would.
But when you say take the shot, that just seems like almost like a flyer where you don't feel like as confident when you say take the
I mean,
shot, unless you're just using that kind of more just
I'm
broader.
using it just broader.
Okay.
I believe enough in him that I would trade. Yeah, just as I said, I would because it's all a shot anyway. It's not a science. How many
No,
first
I
round?
know.
You know,
But do
uh,
you think he's a generational prospect? Uh, like
I think
of that luck level?
do I think that he has a potential to be a long time above average playoff quarterback in the NFL? Yes,
But
and
would you trade your whole
within that,
draft class for that? Does that
yeah,
sound
yeah,
that attractive?
because I think there's a potential of him winning a Super Bowl or two during his career. Yes,
Is he a better prospect than Cam Ward?
I think so.
Caleb Williams?
I think so.
Bryce Young?
I think so.
Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow?
Oh wow. I mean, if we're being serious, Burrow was a 1 year guy too. And a lot of people kind
No,
of
he was. Yeah,
wondered because of that. I
yeah,
would
that's a
say he's
similar.
probably on par on with Burrow.
I don't know if I'm there. I maybe I just have to watch him more. Obviously, a great player. Love the kid. I mean, he just super like he's going to kill it in the interviews. I mean, he's going to the Raiders. Doesn't even matter how he interviews. But I think he's a little more of that Cam Ward, Bryce Young, where they're really good quarterbacks. It's not knocking, but it's not generational to me on Mendoza.
So you're telling me if all it cost you right now is you had to give up all 12 picks to go up to number one, you sacrifice your entire draft to go get Mendoza, you would not do that then.
When you say all it costs you, it cost me a whole lot to
All
do
right.
that. That all is doing some heavy lifting in that sense. No, I wouldn't. I would not trade the entire draft class
Okay.
for Mendoza.
All right. Let's throw that out to the
Yeah.
listeners there, being as how we went down that rabbit hole here. Would you give up would you give up all, and it is 12 that we're currently at with the Steelers, right? Or at least we
I
think
mean,
it
we
is.
assume with the comp picks, it's not official, but we'll
Right.
assume, yeah, your first rounder, second rounder, 3 third rounders, and all your day 3 picks.
All right. Would you do that? Would you trade your entire 2026 draft pick class to go up to number one to draft Mendoza? Just simple. You don't have to go in depth in it. You can call me names if you want to within the email. Say Dave's lost his ever loving mind or whatnot. But let's throw that out on Super Bowl weekend to see what we get
All right.
from the listeners. All right, back to the game. Boy, we've gone rabbit
Yeah,
hole
I know.
down.
I
We've
really took you down one.
gone away from this several times here. What say you about this game?
Yeah, I'll be short here, as I already kind of mentioned. I mean, I think New England, I want to give them their credit, but Seattle, I just think too much explosiveness offensively, defensively. I got Seattle winning this one 26-22. So I guess New England covers, but Seattle wins, and that's all that matters here.
All right, I too have Seattle winning, and I too have the Patriots covering within this. Let's see, you said 26-22. I will go 24-20 in this, which puts my total at 44, which puts it under the 45.5 total. And you have the total going over. So we both have Seattle winning. We both have the Patriots covering. You have the score going over. I have the score going under.
Who is your Super Bowl MVP? And I assume it's from the Seattle side.
Yes. Good question there. How about in Jigba?
Yeah,
I
that's a
feel
good pick.
that's pretty good.
I'll say Sam Darnold wins MVP. What a year for him, making the move, fifth NFL team, first round pick, journeyman to Super Bowl winner and Super Bowl MVP. If the Patriots were to win this game, who would be the MVP for the Patriots?
I'm thinking easy choices. Drake May. I'm thinking off the cuff. Hunter Henry.
Okay. I'll say if the Patriots win, it's because of that defensive line. It's because of Milton Williams making big plays. I'll say Milton Williams is MVP if the Patriots win. Who would be a dark horse sleeper MVP for Seattle? That's not Darnold. That's not Smith and Jigba. Who could be a random a Malcolm Butler or Malcolm Smith, one of their kind of like off the wall Super Bowl MVPs?
Mm,
I got a good one in mind.
give me a minute here. Let me think.
You want to give mine? I'm going to give you the time to
No,
not poison the well.
I want to try to steal yours.
I know you're gonna steal mine. You always do that.
Devin Witherspoon.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. It's not mine, but that is a good one. I'll say I thought about Cooper Kupp. That feels still a little too obvious. I'll say tight end AJ Barner, who actually DeMarcus Ayers coached at Indiana in 2022. Barner was there, and that's a guy that caught a bunch of touchdowns this year. I think he's second on the team in receiving. No one really talks about their top tight end. So I'll say AJ Barner, the dark horse MVP candidate.
All right. Will there be a defensive touchdown in this game?
No defensive touchdown.
I agree. Will there be a 2-point conversion made in this game?
I'll say yes. They got the 22. I got to get 2 points in there somehow, so I'll say yes.
I will say no. What other kind of weirdness?
To be an onside kick?
Yes.
I'll say yes too.
All right. Okay, Alex, anything left to get to in this nearly 2-hour show ahead of Super Bowl weekend here?
We know how to pad it, that's for sure. I don't think so. I don't know how many emails we can get to. If you want to get to some and close out today's show, feel free, but fun show.
All right, let me see how many emails we have. If I can find where my email machine is. Here it is, the terrible podcast. And once again, send us your and I guess on top of our question of would you give up the draft class to go up to number 1 to the Raiders to get Mendoza? What would you give up? Or would you even consider it? Or is Mendoza just overrated? So just don't make these real lengthy emails is what I'm saying. So maybe we can get to quite a few of them in the Monday show. All right, here's one from Lenny Barsakowski is emailed in before. Guys, if Cam would retire, do you see this possibility drafting another defensive tackle in the first round this year on the table? Because if he comes back, do you see any other positions being drafted other than cornerback, wide receiver, safety, or offensive guard in the first round? Thanks from Lenny. So in other words, could another defensive, and this is a pretty decent defensive tackle class overall, I think when you get into it here, would you consider drafting another defensive tackle in round 1 if Cam Hayward decides to not play?
Yeah, I think you consider it. Do you do it? Just depends on all the factors of the class and the talent and depth and scheme fit, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think you certainly have to. How do you not consider it? Yeah, you have Harmon and Black and Benton, but you need more than that.
Let's see, who were some of the top guys in this class? Woods out of Clemson, Caleb Banks. I don't think Woods matches kind of what the Steelers look for at 6'2", 310. I got to watch more of him. Caleb Banks, 6'6", 335. Christian Miller, LT Overton, a little bit undersized. Yeah, I think overall, top to bottom, when it comes to first round guys that the Steelers tend to look for, it feels kind of light as far as first rounders go.
Yeah, again, I got to do some more. I'm doing work on some later round guys. I got a report going up Saturday on Dominique Orange, who's a big nose tackle, big plugger, but he's got really good feet. He's a little more athletic than you might think for your typical zero tech. So that's a guy I'm looking at, but I'm just kind of scratching the surface on that.
All right. From where we sit right now, I mean, we'll see if Cam retires, but I still think you could see this team go different directions than defensive tackle in the first round. Let's just leave it at that. Rob Jones writes in, over the last 3 years, the Steelers have drafted 6 national champions: Sawyer, Howard, Roman, Broderick, George Pickens, and Darnell. The national champion Indiana team is stacked with NFL-bound players. Alex mentioned the coach connections and the admiration for Omar Cooper Jr. He says he just saw his scouting report just dropped as he types this. I think a huge benefit is that we now have Frank Cignetti Jr. on staff, who better to get real intelligence from Kurt on his players. I hope to see scouting reports on Pat Coogan, Lewis Moore, Aiden Fisher, besides Sarrett, Cooper, Pons, Kamara. Hopefully a few of these guys will be Steelers. Super excited for draft season and following it all on Steelers Depot. Thanks, Rob Jones, for the email on that. Could you see this team drafting an Indiana guy, and how much does it help with reconnaissance with having a Cignetti on the staff?
Yeah, every little bit helps. Every little bit of, I mean, you can still talk to Cignetti, but I think you could do a little extra and find a little more out on Cooper. Yeah, there's a lot of the Indiana guys that I'm sure we'll be talking about a lot, which has not been the case in a long time. Who was the last Indiana player Pittsburgh drafted? Was it Randall L?
Oh, good question. And Randall L would have been my first guess there.
Is there anyone else in between? Any other Indiana guy? No, the last one was Randall L in 2002.
Who was the last one before Randall L? Give me that.
I would not have guessed this one, and I'm not even familiar with the name. Lance Brown, a defensive back, 5th round in 1995. He played with Pittsburgh. He got drafted by Pittsburgh, played at Arizona initially, and then went back to Pittsburgh in 98 and 99. So how about that?
Wow. That's a blast from the past.
Brown, yeah. Tonjoku from Indiana State, but not Indiana.
All right. What was the one prior to that even?
Not many Indiana players drafted by Pittsburgh. So you had Brown in 95, and then the one before that was Glenn Skolnick, a receiver in 1973, 6th-round pick who appeared in 1 NFL game. So really, we just look at the other Indiana names here. If anyone else who had success in Pittsburgh, it's just Randall L. Of anyone who actually really stuck in Pittsburgh.
All right, got another email from Brian Sweats. Looks like that. I think that's a new name there. He says, "Hello, Dave and Alex. Dave's brief deep dive into Mike Hunt. Mike Hunt on today's podcast had me rolling." He says, "Thanks for that. I was surprised Dave didn't bring up the Jerky Boys as an example of people using those nameplates to make prank phone calls. Do you even know who the Jerky Boys are?"
I have no idea. That sounds like the most 1950s thing ever.
No, that was huge when the whole prank phone call phrase was alive and well. They have a couple of albums that actually hilarious. You've got to go down the Jerky Boys. Some of the old Frank Rizzo stuff that they did, I know comes to mind. When I mean 80s, I think that was 80s, 90s stuff. Yeah, go on YouTube and search the Jerky Boys type stuff.
Not do that.
Yeah, that I forgot all about that.
My era of that was Crank Yankers on Comedy Central.
Yeah,
that was my prank call era.
This was pre Crank Yankers and all kind of stuff there as well too. So that's a good pull from Brian. Glad I wonder if anybody else I had in stitches with that. I imagine a few. He says, "Anyways, I've been listening to you for over a decade now, and I can't believe it's been that long." He says, "Appreciate everything you guys do. Please keep it up. While I did ditch Twitter once Elon Musk bought it, and I do miss Dave's interactions with fans, I still read just about everything and listen when I can." Alex, he says, "Have you ever considered doing any kind of a fan meetup before games in tailgates or something like that?" I can answer that for Alex. No, because we're working the game pregame from the comforts of our own mom's basements and all, and you can't do that when you're out at tailgates. And Alex probably wouldn't be any fun at now. Me pre-stop drinking and other things that I did would have been a hoot at pregame meetups. You probably could have observed me getting my ass kicked probably and getting way too drunk. But even I think I would be not fun at meetups or tailgates there. But that said, Brian, we appreciate the email, and he's been listening for over a decade now, he says.
Thank you so much for listening.
All right. I think we've got all of the emails out of the way on this Super Bowl weekend. We appreciate everybody for listening. Appreciate everybody for emailing. Go to the site, take advantage of the contest that we got going free for readers. We will be back on Monday talking about the Super Bowl. Maybe we'll get some more finalizations on the coaching staff, additional names. We'll start moving even more forward into the draft sometime next week. Hope to have our Shrine Bowl and Senior Bowl correspondents on to talk a little bit about what they observed during the All-Star game weeks and just getting into this thing a little bit deeper. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button. Also, if you'd like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button. Follow the directions that way to take advantage of the ad-free version of the site. We'll be on all weekend trying to come up with some content. I'm trying to get through a salary cap update here. I had to go down the rabbit hole and make sure I didn't miss anything. Hope to have that one up maybe over the weekend here, something to read as well too. So until Monday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.